So during the meeting, if you have questions, there is a way to type in the questions. If you're on a laptop, there's a little chat bubble in the bottom right. If you're on mobile, you would hit the three buttons near the microphone picture and things like that. And there's a in-call chat option that you would select to type out questions, or we will answer questions at the end of it if you want to save your questions till then. If it's an easy question, I can generally answer via text, typing it out during it. Um, but yeah, a lot of them can wait till the end. Um, Google Meets also do have closed captioning available, so you can turn that on if the volume is tough. If you're watching on YouTube, I will be keeping an eye on the chat there as well. So if you have questions, you can ask in the YouTube as well. If the meeting is live, if you're watching after, 2 o'clock today, the 24th of April, 2026, then it's pre-recorded. You can email us your questions at that point, or of course, reach us through our phone number. So, but it's 2 o'clock now, so let me see. I've got a few more people, it looks like. There we go. My name is David. I've spoken to many of you on the phone. I am the lead travel agent for Happening Travel. You've probably spoken to me or some of my other team members who help with things like Nivet or Shubham. We do a lot of trips. We are a charity organization. Our trips are all meant to be educational or to bring you to culturally relevant events or places. We try and make sure our travel is accessible to everyone. And because we're a nonprofit, our ground operators offer us amazing deals. Also, because we are a nonprofit, we're a very small team. And joining me today is a very experienced traveler named Al, who is retired, but I frequently have him come on board for our trips to be an escort because he's so experienced in travel. He's a volunteer escort. If he's going on the trips, of course, he gets to go on the trip, which he loves. And also, if you're on one of the day trips, you've probably seen him, and we do ask for tips for that because we're nonprofit and he's volunteer. But while I'm running the technical side of this meeting, he is going to help walk through the trip itself. And he'll also help with questions at the end because he has been on this trip when I did it in September and is very familiar with all the destinations. So thank you, Al.
Yeah, happy to be here. Well, welcome everybody. As David said, my name is Al. I volunteer in helping the Happening Travel Club. I don't work for the travel club, but it is a nonprofit, 501c3, and I'm very supportive of their efforts and what they do in their educational travel programs. I live in the Villages, newly retired since last summer. Just briefly before jumping into this particular trip, I'm extensively traveled. I have been to 148 countries. I have escorted to more than 100 countries, escorted groups exactly like all of the people that are in our meeting today. Very sensitive to our age needs when we travel, speed of travel, walking, bathrooms are important, et cetera, and so on. And so I have a lot of experience with that, and do all kinds of different kinds of trips. So what we're talking about today is Peru and Machu Picchu. A departure in September, both times in September. September is an outstanding time to go because of weather. And you're going to have the best combination of not be too hot, not be too cold. It's the Three Bears story of just right. And the most important thing is virtually little chance of rain, which is very important. It can happen, of course, but generally it does not. This is a 10-day trip. It's very leisurely paced. I think very important. You'll see when we do that, and when we talk about the itinerary and help you to prepare what is important and what you would want to know about an experience to Peru, and especially Machu Picchu. Now, let me just point out first and foremost, this picture is what scares all of us about going to Machu Picchu. The picture implies that, oh my goodness, we're going to be mountain climbing. And nothing could be further from the truth. This is a very organized trip. My last trip that I did to Peru and Machu Picchu had 50 guests, many from the villages. And it had all different kinds of walking skills among the 50 guests that went to Peru and Machu Picchu. So in this instance, if you have walking limitations, you absolutely can do Machu Picchu. If you don't have walking limitations, you can do more of Machu Picchu and Peru. It really is up to you. And on the trip, I'm escorting the September 10th, 2026 trip. But the itinerary allows you the flexibility, and I'll explain the accessibility issues in just a moment. And of course, if you are not interested, the travel club is going to do it a second time in 2027. So it allows you to plan. Okay, David. It's a 10-day itinerary. First and foremost, this is an incredible value. This includes first class 3-star hotels. You can upgrade to 4-star hotels, but this is very inclusive. This itinerary is basically pretty turnkey. It includes most of the meals. It includes, of course, an escort. If you take the September 26th, I'm the escort that is traveling with you. If you want to continue, David, the itinerary at $13.99 includes the accommodations. In this particular trip, you can upgrade to 4-star accommodations, which I highly encourage. 2 of the hotels that are used in the 4-star itinerary you see there. It's just $149, and that's not per night. That's for the entire length of the trip. So essentially, you're traveling, the trip is about $140 per diem, and that includes your sightseeing, your hotel accommodations, all of your transportation and transfers, your escort, of course, meals, and your principal sightseeing. I highly recommend the 4-star upgrade. You're in Miraflores in Lima, and you're right in the heart of Cusco in the Sacred Valley. The hotel that we are staying at is only about 7 blocks from the main square in Cusco, which is absolutely fantastic. And so I highly recommend that upgrade. And then, as you can see, comprehensive sightseeing. I love this picture on the right. That is Machu Picchu. Machu Picchu, the mountain, is behind it. I have done this many, many times. I've been to Peru many times. I've done it 3 times on cruise ships for a cruise company, actually 2 different cruise companies that hired me to be with them doing an escorted program off the ship. So I have docked in Callao, which is Lima's port. I've done it as multiple tours, most recently for the Happening Travel Club, departing from the villages. And I have also done what is called the Incan Trail. And the Incan Trail starts in Cusco, approximately, well, depending on the route, 30 to 40 miles, and you do it as a 3-day or a 4-day walk. And I have done the Incan Trail as a walk. It comes in behind this mountain in the late afternoon on day 3, and then you do a sunrise over the mountain into Machu Picchu. And I have done it that way also. So I have had all 3 types of experience. I've walked to Machu Picchu, I have escorted tours to Machu Picchu, and I've escorted cruises to Machu Picchu. The picture on the left is a very typical Peruvian square. The square in Lima is quite large, with the cathedral, 500-year-old cathedral on the main square in Lima, and the city of the dead, the catacombs, is on the square. And the square, while smaller in Cusco in the Sacred Valley, looks very much the same thing. It's very, very scenic. All right, David. Most of the meals are included. All of the breakfast, they're Americanized kind of a hybrid between American breakfast and European breakfast in Peru. And then it has a welcome dinner and a farewell dinner included in the program. And then connect. Oh, one of the things I always mention, Peruvian food is quite amazing. It is not spicy. Lots of people think because it's Latin America, South America, it's spicy. It is not. The Peruvians are not a spicy food culture, and the food is amazing. Peruvian that we have in the United States is very popular, and there's a reason. It's outstanding. It's principally rice driven, but it's vegetable driven. And in Peru, for examples, in corn alone, there's more than 300 varieties of corn in Peru. And it's just one example of the very diverse vegetable base in Peru. Food is really quite exceptionally good. This is a trip where I would say food is really outstanding in what your experience is. Next. All of your transportation is included. Most of the time, our trip will be in mini coaches, which are generally approximately 30 seats. The kind of big motor coaches that we have here in Florida generally do not exist in Peru, even in Lima. So it's more highly personalized, smaller vehicles. Transportation is also included on your arrival. You will notice in the itinerary that when you depart and arrive in Lima, and you're going to fly from Lima, the airfare is not included. That is very intentioned and correct. You do not want someone to handle your airfare. You just don't. Air has gotten too complicated in terms of the number of classes, early boarding, seat assignments, baggage handling, et cetera, larger seats, et cetera. You, in my opinion, should handle your own airfare. And the reason is because if a tour operator or a cruise line handles your air, they are not going to handle the air to your satisfaction. There are too many choices. It's not like air from 2 years ago. I'm sorry, 20 years ago. And so as a result, the big reason you want to handle your own air is if you have a misconnection or some issue happens. If you have someone else do your airfare, the first thing the airline is going to do is say, you've got to go back to the agency of record that ticketed your air. And you do not want to be coming back in the middle of the trip to try to get Happening Travel Club to handle it, or Expedia to handle it, or AAA to handle it. They just simply, not because they wouldn't try to do a good job, they just won't do a good job for you. You want to handle your own air, and you want to ticket directly with the airline. That's what you want to do on all trips, in my opinion, everywhere in the world, but included in this. So as a result, in terms of transportation, the travel club is going to provide transfers for you. There are convenience from the Lima airport and all of the airports on the trip. So as a result, if you came in on a flight that arrived at 2:30 in the morning, the Happening Travel Club is going to meet you when you come out of international customs with a sign with your name on it and transfer you to the airport. They are going to transfer you to the airport already knowing what your flight information is to get you to the airport in the proper amount of time. You do not even have to think about it. It is an automatic process in terms of the transportation being included. Next. Now, looking at this picture at a trip route, it gives you kind of an interesting perspective, except you don't do it this way, and you wouldn't want to do it this way. Urubamba is the gateway into Machu Picchu. In the looking to the right at about 3 o'clock, right below that, you see Cusco. Cusco is the second largest and the second most important city in Peru, only behind Lima. You are seeing an overland road trip. Now, you can do this, but you don't want to do this. It's incredibly difficult. This trip from Lima to Cusco to Urubamba would be approximately 25 hours. And that is because you're traveling through the Andes. You're traveling among the highest mountains in the world. And Peru is right in the heart of the Andes. I always make the joke, of course, we're proud and we love our Rockies and the Canadian Rockies and our American Rockies. The Andes from Peru to Chile are generally twice the size of the Rockies in North America. So it's not a place that you want to do a lot of road trip. But what you will do in looking at this map, if you look at the far left and the upper left, that's where you're going to gateway into Lima. And you'll stay in Lima at the beginning of the trip and at the end of the trip. And then air is done between Lima and Cusco. Again, so you see to the far left, to the far right. Cusco is the capital of the Sacred Valley. This is a valley that is very spectacular in its mountains and its peaks. And this is where the king of the Incan Empire was based, here in the Sacred Valley. That's why it's called that. Machu Picchu is one of more than 70 archaeological sites in the Andes. Machu Picchu is the most famous because it's the best preserved. And the reason it is the best preserved is the Spanish and the conquistadors searching for gold couldn't find it. So it survived. In contrast, Cusco was the capital of the Incan Empire, and when the Incan kings surrendered to the Spanish and the conquistadors, they promptly beheaded him. And they dismantled the palace in Cusco brick by brick and rebuilt it on the square that you will see into a Catholic cathedral 500 years ago. And these are remains and ruins that you will see in the Sacred Valley and in Lima. They're quite spectacular. But the history between the Spanish and the Incans, because of their gold, is really quite an interesting and unique story. Machu Picchu is spectacular because it was never found. And that's why it's intact, or the Spanish would have done the same thing to Machu Picchu that they did to Cusco. Next, David. So on day one, you fly to Lima. A lot of these kind of buildings, that's a room in the middle picture. That is very Spanish. If you've been to Barcelona or Madrid or Seville, you've seen that before, because it's exactly the same. It's Spanish influence. And on the first day, I will meet you. If I don't meet you at the airport, I will meet you at the hotel. And we have a happy hour. It's a cash bar happy hour at the beginning, and then dinner is included, and you will meet all of the guests for the trip, and including me as your escort. One of the things that I would also say, a substantial number, I know there's people participating in this meeting from many locations around Florida and around the country. If you are in the villages, we will have a social meeting in the villages in the late summer where you'll be able to get together, and we'll have a social party where you can meet the other guests that are coming from the area. And if you have the ability to get to the villages, you would want to participate in it because it's a nice experience. But that's day one. By the way, Lima is not a particularly difficult jet lag city, as opposed to going to Europe or going to Rio or to Buenos Aires. Your flight is not as significant. Flight time is between 4 and 5 hours from the gateways in Florida of Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Tampa, and Orlando. So not a terribly difficult flight, roughly comparable, a little bit less than going from Florida to Los Angeles. Generally, I say it's like flying from Florida to Las Vegas. So it's not a terribly difficult flight. That's our first day. Then, as we continue on day two, we begin sightseeing in Lima. We do a tour of the capital. the basilica, which was so important to the last pope, and the basilica that is so important to our American pope. He was assigned at the basilica in Lima, and we will visit the basilica. Quite important. The Cardinal of Lima is quite important in the Catholic Church, and other sightseeing that we will do at the basilica. The second largest tombs, city of the dead, exist in the entire world. The largest being in Paris. There are more in Rome, but the one in Lima, near the town square, the city square, is the second largest, and more than 10,000 in the catacombs, and you'll have the opportunity to see that. Though that's sightseeing on day 2. On day 3, we will transfer to from our hotel in Lima to the airport. We will return back to the airport, and we will fly to the Andes, to the Sacred Valley and Cusco. This is a spectacular region. Now, of course, we're all going because of Machu Picchu. But if this was Alaska, you would be going just for this reason. People go to Alaska to see Mount McKinley. Mount McKinley is just over 20,000 feet, the tallest mountain in North America. In the Sacred Valley, approximately 35 miles south of Cusco, you'll have the ability to visit it. There, in one view, you'll be able to step off the coach and you can stand and slowly turn in a circle around and go 360 degrees standing, and you will see 5 Mount McKinleys. 5. The largest number of mountains, even over Nepal, over 18,000 feet in the Andes, and the largest collection of mountains, over 20,000 feet in the Andes. It is spectacularly beautiful, the mountain vistas. We fly to the Andes, and the heart of, you see the picture there of the Andes, that is the cathedral on the main square in Cusco. You see it down below, also quite beautiful. We will be staying in a hotel that is walkable to this square, quite nice. When I say that Cusco is the second largest city, I'm talking about the Cusco region. They define Cusco as the Sacred Valley, and it's about 200,000 people. It's the second most important and largest city. Lima, in comparison, has more than 10 million. So Cusco is quite small compared to Lima, and a completely different experience in the two. Next, David. On day 4, we do sightseeing in Cusco, and we include an archaeological pass that visits multiple archaeological sites. The stalls of Peruvian shopping is quite good. To see the llamas and the alpaca is also quite fun, and the handicrafts that are made from alpaca products. So you'll on your sightseeing, you're going to see all of the animals. There's a very famous dish called cuy here in the Sacred Valley. It's really the only place that does it. And when you're on the trip or you come to a social, I'll show you a picture of me eating cuy. And cuy is like lobster. In Maine, when you go to have a lobster in Maine, you pick your lobster and then they prepare it. In the Sacred Valley, they do the same thing. You pick your hamster, and the hamster is a gourmet dish.
Well,
and
it's guinea pig, so a little bit bigger than a hamster.
Oh, yes,
yes.
I'm sorry. It's a hamster. It's guinea pig. A large hamster is what I meant to say. Thank you, David. Fun sightseeing here in Cusco. One of the things that I also always prepare people for is they're concerned about altitude. When you're at Cusco, we always talk about the mile-high city of Denver. Denver's 5,500 feet, mile-high city. Cusco is 11,000 feet. When you land at the airport, big international jet airport in Cusco, it takes just a little bit of time to acclimate to weather because of the altitude. But I have never had a situation where I have had anyone have serious consequence. You hear about altitude sickness. People talk about altitude sickness, but I think honestly, except in acute situations for very rare people, it is more of a gossipy thing that I'm a little lightheaded or I had a little trouble to breathe. There are remedies, cocoa leaves being chewed help very much. And your hotel, if you do feel like you're having any issues, they provide oxygen. And so they give you an oxygen therapy, which lasts about 20 minutes, and generally that's it. This last group of 50 that I was with, when you land, a few people had issues, but in the course of hours, it's completely over. So I don't think altitude is an issue. You will go one place on this trip as we cross the Sacred Valley of likely something you have never done in your entire life. We will travel by motor coach, a mini motor coach, to one of the archaeological sites to go to the other end of Sacred Valley, and you will cross at 13,000 feet. Now, at that altitude, you are at the same height of most of the highest mountains in Colorado. But when they say we're at 14,000, when you're at Colorado Springs and you go on the train to Pikes Peak, you're going to 9,000 feet. On this, you're going to be riding on a motor coach and cross for a little while at 13,000 feet. It's absolutely a spectacular experience.
And just a quick one on altitude sickness. That's most common amongst athletes, mountain climbers who are straining their bodies in the high altitude.
Yes,
this
right.
is not one of those trips.
That's right. I assure you, I know how to help and how to manage this experience. Then on day 5, we leave Cusco, and we're going to have another 2-night stay. And this is going to be at the southern end of the valley. The Sacred Valley is completely surrounded by high mountain passes. It's approximately 60 miles long. So literally, you're traveling across a high mountain valley. The valley is sitting at approximately 9 to 10,000 feet on the valley that you're traveling, and you're looking at mountains that are surrounding the valley that dwarf 9 to 10,000 feet. The mountain peaks around the valley are 18 to 20,000 feet, and you're seeing that from 9 to 10,000 feet. There is very few places on the entire planet that need it. There's not a single place in Europe that even comes close to the altitude view of the mountains. Nothing in the Alps, even close to the experience today. And you will spend 2 nights in the Sacred Valley, more archaeological sites. The one that you're seeing in the upper right is the second most important Incan site in Sacred Valley after Machu Picchu. And what you're seeing in the left, the Incans were not warriors. They were not a military. They weren't an army, although they did have it. What they were was really farmers. And so the farming in Sacred Valley is quite spectacular because they used the land very wisely in terracing. And that what you're looking at in the upper left is the terraces of farms in an Incan city. So the city might have 5,000, 8,000, 12,000 people, and then the farms are terraced to support food. And the meats that they do are not wild game, they're raised game, including alpaca and llama, which was edible and is today. You can taste llama and alpaca while you're in the Sacred Valley on the tour, plus the cuy. Next. Day 6 is one of the really spectacular days. It is going to Machu Picchu. Now, in Machu Picchu, as I said, Machu Picchu is far easier than your expectation because you think you're going to be walking into over the mountain. That is not what happens. First, I recommend the train. There is, and the flyer will show you when you go to the website, gives you multiple choices of train journeys that you can take from Sacred Valley to Machu Picchu. When you arrive in Machu Picchu, you're arriving at the bottom of the mountain. Now, you're still very, very high, but you're at the bottom of the mountain, and a river goes through the town that is at the base of Machu Picchu and at Machu Picchu. When you arrive in the town, you'll come off of our motor coach or the train, depending on which way you would like to do it. And then there is a special bus that takes you to Machu Picchu. And the bus carries approximately 20 guests, and they go it seems like every minute, but approximately every 5 minutes. Another coach fills, and it is a shuttle that moves back and forth and back and forth. When I was with our group, our last group from the villages, this is where you were hearing all of the international news about Machu Picchu's closure. And it was this company and the people related to this transfer that were blocking railway, the train tracks, for example, because this contract was up and they did not get a chance to bid for it. And so there was a lot of unrest about it. All of that has been resolved, and it's a very convenient way to get up the mountain. It has to be the size of the vehicle because it is traveling really spectacularly to the upper ends of Machu Picchu and the entrance to Machu Picchu itself. So you're doing this spectacular drive up the mountain on this specialty vehicle. I'm always asked, like in the Amalfi Coast, the number of people in that very scenic drive at the Amalfi Coast in Italy. In the last 40 years, not a single person has died from anything related to the road in Amalfi. It's the same issue here. This is an incredibly safe, statistically almost a complete perfect record in terms of any issues of going up to Machu Picchu. When you get to the top, then you unload and you are right at the gates of Machu Picchu. It is a national park and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The reason I explain this to you is because your mobility will dictate what I do for you in helping you on the sightseeing. Now, while I could take you into Machu Picchu, and I will go through the gates with you on Machu Picchu, the travel club hires a national park guide. And the national park guide is with a small number of guests, generally 10. And so there's a guide with just 10 of you. And that guide is the one that is going to walk you through Machu Picchu. There are many steps up and many steps down. If you want that kind of experience to have deeper sightseeing into Machu Picchu. If you do not want that, we will organize you with basically a generally very flat experience that takes you into Machu Picchu, where you get all of the specific views without having to do all of the up and down steps into farther nooks and crannies. For my mother, of which I took her to when she was in her late 70s to Machu Picchu, she was not capable of doing the up and downs of the walking, but she had a fantastic experience in Machu Picchu through flat walk. And so what happens is we take you through the gate and you are on a single terrace, a very minor exception, but generally a single terrace. And then you exit at another exit point of that terrace. So you have spectacular view of Machu Picchu, of both mountains and the archaeological site without the intensity of the walking. And again, even if you decide that you want to do the walking, the guide gives you the opportunity to say, okay, we're going to go in here, and it's going to be, this is what we're going to do, and we're coming back to here. And you have the ability to decide at that portion of the walk if you would like to do it or you would not do it. I explain all of that from the standpoint of, you know, your walking capability, but Machu Picchu is not off of your list of one of the 10 greatest things to see on this planet because of your concerns about mobility. I do not think that that is something that you need to do. If you have a walker or you have other types of transportation, that too can be used. It takes a little more time, but it is possible for us at Machu Picchu in the lower mountain, the bus ride up to gate entrance of Machu Picchu, and then into Machu Picchu itself. And of course, if you have very special needs, reach out to David, and David's going to reach out to me, and I'm going to help in terms of answering every precise detail that you have. The spectacular day is today on day 6 in Machu Picchu. You cannot stay in Machu Picchu. There is one, the Belmond Luxury Hotel, that's right outside the gate at the top of the mountain. It's approximately $2,000 a night. If you're interested in it, I'm sure David would be happy to help make the arrangements to do it. But really, I just don't think it's necessary. The Belmond is a world travelers, I've done everything and I want to do everything kind of experience. Generally, I'm not a big fan of staying in Machu Picchu. Staying in Sacred Valley, I think, is a much better choice. Next. Then we are 2 nights in Sacred Valley doing Machu Picchu in that middle day. You will see many of the itineraries that go from Cusco mostly by train, to Machu Picchu in one day. It's too much. I see itineraries that do Cusco to Machu Picchu and back to Cusco in one day. It is unbelievably too much. It's not the kind of, whether you do this tour or not, it's not the kind of experience you want. This is the right plan. 2 nights in Lima, 2 nights in Cusco, then 2 nights at Sacred Valley doing Machu Picchu as the day trip. You're only commuting into Machu Picchu approximately 90 some minutes, makes it very comfortable, and out in the same day, not completely traveling across Sacred Valley. So on day 7, then from Sacred Valley, you go back to Cusco. And we have one more night, super scenic day of sightseeing. We have one more night in Cusco. Why do we do this? We do this because Cusco is a major international airport. However, it's not a huge airport, and we don't want to have any situations with air. So as a result, we're not taking any chances on your air inclusion. You will also see itineraries that come from Machu Picchu to Cusco and fly to Lima in the same day. No, 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 no. That's not the way to do it. Having the 2 days at Sacred Valley with doing Machu Picchu in the middle day, you're going to be very comfortable and very happy. Going from Sacred Valley back to Cusco for one more night without worrying about the rush of meeting a flight, you're going to be very happy. And that's what happens here on day 7. You'll go back to Cusco one more night. Anything that you might not have done in Cusco, a nice evening on the square with dinner. There's different kinds of things that you can do, but this is, in my opinion, the right way to do the itinerary. Then on day 8, you're going to fly to Lima, and it has 2 more nights in Lima. Now, this itinerary is 10 days. Some people will only do 1 night in Lima. I don't think that that's a really good idea. I think this itinerary is very smart in what the travel club has done. 2 nights, because you're going to have 2 nights at Lima at the beginning. You're just going to run and run and run because it's the first time you've seen Incan artifacts, archaeological sites, which you see in Lima. But you're also going to find Lima is New York City for South America. Lima, Rio de Janeiro, and Buenos Aires, maybe Santiago, Chile. Four, let's say broadly four, but definitely three. Lima is one of those cities. Lima is a great city for shopping, is a great city for food, and a great city for archaeological cultural history. So going back to Lima for 2 more nights means you're not tired getting to Lima and then flying the next day, which could be early in the morning or it might be late in the afternoon, depending on the choices that you do. But you're going to come back to Lima, and I almost guarantee you're going to go, I want to do this, and I ran out of time to do this in the first part of the trip. And that's why going to day 9, you
I
have.
was just gonna say that picture is one of my favorite Peruvian dishes, lomo saltado, which is like a braised stir-fried beef. It's amazing.
Yeah. The food is just incredible. It really is. On day 9, it's a full day at leisure. You'll have breakfast and then anything that you want to do. This is a very good combination of not, forgive me on the phrase, but not running you to death. I know many of you have done tours in Europe where it's just bam, 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 bam. This is not that itinerary. In the free open times that we have, it's a combination of leisure time and included sightseeing. We can provide you, and we will. I'll make lots of recommendations of things to do. You can be as busy as you want, but it doesn't require you to do it, which I also like. And we have the farewell event in Lima on the final night on day 9. Then to day 10, the trip comes to an end. We are going to transfer you whenever it is. David, I don't recommend you look at your airfare until 90 to 120 days, for sure after your final payment date on the trip for 26 or in 27, and then start to search for air. Today is not a great day to purchase airfare. Not a great day. A month from now, to be honest with you, I expect we're going to see a boom in terms of air, because airlines are going to get very aggressive coming out of the politics that we're currently sitting in. But in general, to Lima from the Florida gateways, Orlando, Tampa, Fort Lauderdale, or Miami, can be either. You're looking at $400 to $500 approximately for air to Lima. Not outrageous.
And that's round trip.
And that's round trip. And you can shop it as you go. The travel club and I will transfer you. So we'll have a transfer set, give you the exact time of your transfer from the hotel to the airport to give you ample time for meeting on your flight. Next. Examples of the train, Peru Rail. This is so much fun. Peru Rail allows you to get to Machu Picchu in a unique way. You can do the train journey for $49. You can do the first class train journey for $99 and includes the Vista Dome that you see there. On the Vista Dome, it also has the shared opening. It's very interesting. And the Vista Dome is really important because of the high mountain peaks that are above the train as you're going to Machu Picchu. The Vista Dome I like very much. Next. And then the Vista Dome Observatory is fun because they have a lounge car. And you can see in the upper right, that's the lounge on the car that's accessible only to the Vista Dome Observatory guests, seating area, and they do a show. And they do an entertainment dance performance on the train for observatory guests. And there's also snacks and beverages and different kinds of things. And that's just $149. Compared to the luxury trains in Europe, Peru and Peru Rail is really quite an outstanding value. Highly recommend the train experience. You will very much enjoy going to Machu Picchu and then from Machu Picchu to the Sacred Valley. It's 2 train journeys. Okay, next. The reservations, it's $199 for the trip. And you can make your reservations, you see there. If you don't have that link or very accessible, all you have to do is go to happening.travel, which is the travel club page, and just select South America as your choices, and this trip will come right up. And it'll give you all of the exact day-by-day itinerary, exact details on the inclusions, and gives you the ability to book the trip. It's a very seamless process directly online to make the reservations.
You can also just search Peru.
Yeah. Oh,
Which is
okay.
easy to do, yes.
Okay. Yeah. So that is the itinerary. It's 10 days. To be honest with you, for the value, knowing the quality of accommodations, the value at $1,399 is quite outstanding. I would like to make the joke that I will be worth it for you alone, and will. I'm very passionate about this itinerary. I'm very passionate about Peruvian culture and the story of Peru, the Mayans, the Aztecs, the Toltecs, with the Spanish and the conquistadors. We have great interest in Spanish history. Hernando de Soto, St. Augustine, and Castillo de San Marco. We know a lot about our Spanish history, but this is a different kind of Spanish history in terms of what happened to the Incans. It's a fascinating story to learn about while you're seeing incredible mountain scenery and incredible UNESCO World Heritage archaeological sites. So that's kind of a summary of what to do and what you will experience. And David, I'll just open it however you would like. If anybody does have any questions, I'm happy to help you.
Yeah, if anybody had any questions, now's the time to ask them. You can just click on the little microphone button. It should be red. If you click it off, that will let you speak. Or you can raise your hand if multiple people are speaking. You want to save your spot. There's a little hand button on there. No questions? Okay. Well,
Just
if any,
just
there we go.
one question. Do you
Yes.
do they provide any transportation from the villages down to the airports?
No, the flights are going to be so varied, and I do have people coming from all over, not just the villages. So trying to coordinate airport transfer stateside is very difficult. Coordinating it once in Peru is much easier because it's one airport going to one hotel, so it's easier.
If I could also give a recommendation, all of you may, if you are in the villages, you may know, or maybe this adds. Because I'm doing it a lot because I'm getting to the airport a lot. Of course, Groom Transportation provides shuttle transportation. My only caveat on Groom is it takes approximately an hour to get out of the villages. The travel over to the airport's only about an hour and 15 minutes, but you add another hour to get through between Spanish Springs, Lake Sumter Landing, and the Southern Gateway.
And likely Eastport soon.
Yeah, and they're going to add Eastport, I'm sure. But it's pretty economical to do. Second recommendation that I would make is if you do not have Uber on your phone, I think, and you're a little worried about learning about Uber, for everyone of our age, I'm of your age. I'm the same age as everyone else that's participating in this meeting. You might have a little intrepidation of having Uber on your phone, but I can tell you for sure, my recommendation of my experience on this planet in traveling, Uber is absolutely your best friend as a traveler, a senior traveler. And the reason is because Uber is going to handle you in Lima the exact same way that they're going to handle you in the villages to the Orlando airport. It's done through your card. It's done point to point of where you want to go. They're tracking you. They're tracking the driver in satellite. So the driver knows exactly where you're standing to pick you up. And you know exactly where the driver is and how far away he is or her, the driver name, the car, everything. And the most important thing is you know exactly what it's going to cost before you say book it. And an Uber is going to come in 5 to 12 minutes generally. That's the report time of how quick it is, and you know exactly every single thing to control. I just did an Uber to the Orlando airport, meaning something else. It was actually the train station for Brightline, and it basically was the same cost from my home nonstop to the Orlando airport as the Groom shuttle was, because I used Uber. So that's my second observation, is to if you're uncomfortable, you download it right onto your phone. But if you're uncomfortable about learning it, there are many programs that help seniors learn how to use Uber. The third thing that I would recommend is I'm doing a trip for the Travel Club in 2 weeks going to Michigan. And I have kind of an inconvenient time of flying from Orlando. So I rented a car. And I rented a car. There are 4 of us going. And I rented a car that I'm picking up at Spanish Springs from Hertz. And the car was, I think, $75 with no drop-off charge. So I could pick it up at Spanish Springs. You can also, Enterprise does it at Lake Sumter Landing. You can drop off at Orlando Airport or Tampa Airport at no charge. And so if you're willing to drive, it's quite economical. And so those are 3 recommendations that I always make. And again, I think all of those, because you're in control of it, is a better choice, right?
Could I ask just one quick question? You talked about Uber all over the place. Is it also in Italy?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, Uber's in most of Europe. Pretty much one of the only places in the world you won't find Uber as Uber is parts of Asia. They have comparable apps,
Yeah.
but Uber is international. So the one app will work here or when you're traveling most places.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then Charles,
A quick question on airlines making our own reservations. Are there ones that you recommend for, and ones
No.
you want us to avoid?
Let's make the broadest joke. All airlines are bad.
Yeah.
Just bad. Airlines, it's just gotten to the point where they serve a service and not much more. I always recommend for air on choices. There's a couple of good Latin America airlines to Lima, but really I would go on to Kayak. That's my preference. There are others. If you go to kayak.com and put in these dates, Orlando or Tampa, whichever is your preference, September 10, September 19, 2026, it's going to show you everything that happens between the 2 cities of Orlando or Tampa to Lima. And then you can start to refine it there. The other thing that I do still think is important about air carriers is get into a loyalty program and be loyal not to the airline, but to the airline's group. Delta's group is different than United's group. And internationally, the carriers in Europe are participating in United's group or Delta's group or American Airlines group. And whatever that is, then try your best to be loyal to that, because it's going to get you into situations where it reduces baggage handling fees. If you get into their mileage program, they're going to start to give you baggage for free. If you get their credit card, you're getting double bonus miles for that. And really, essentially what they're doing is saying, if you're loyal to us, we're going to give you lots of perks and benefits. And then at the end of the day, you would go, well, no, I don't like that because it connects versus I can do this, which is nonstop. That may be true, but at least you start from a place of strength. The best recommendation then about air is know what's available to you and then start to be loyal to whatever the airline group is. It's not Delta, it's not United, it's not American, it's the group.
Yeah, for example, we did a trip to Greece in 2023. My friend I travels a lot with American for work, and he was able to use points on Turkish Air to get 2 round trip tickets to Athens for $275 because he had so many points. Personally, I use Google Flights over Kayak, and that's just because I have a Gmail and I have an Android phone. So my phone will give me price alert pop-ups when the prices drop. But do a comparative website if you don't have points. And you had another question, Mr. Dunn?
Yeah, just to make sure I got this straight. So the train trip is on day 6 from Urubamba up to Machu Picchu. Is that correct?
Yes, you ride the train from Sacred Valley to Machu Picchu. So it's on the day that you go to Machu Picchu, and it's the in-between day in Sacred Valley.
So is that day 6?
I don't.
Let me double check that because I forget off the top of my head. I'll scroll back.
And how long is the train trip?
The train trip, depending on, it has a number of factors, but generally about 2 hours.
About 2 hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is day 6.
Yeah. And the upgrade of the train, I do highly recommend the train. The level you want to upgrade is up to you. Personally, at least the Vista Dome or the Vista Dome. The observatory is amazing. The Vista Dome for the views, completely worth it because you're going to get experience that's going to be better than what you would pay that amount for a tour for, and you have to go that direction anyways. So absolutely worth it.
Quick review again in the overnights. 2 nights in Lima. You fly to Cusco. 2 nights in Cusco. Travel by motor coach to Sacred Valley. 2 nights in Sacred Valley. And the middle day in Sacred Valley visits Machu Picchu. Back by motor coach to Cusco for 1 more night. Flying to Lima for 2 nights in Lima. That's the overnight plan. And of course, that day by day is, I think, pretty clear on the Travel Club's webpage.
Yeah.
Other questions I can help anybody with, or I can help you with, David? Anything else?
That's it from me. And
I have a quick question.
Sure thing.
The transportation from the airport to the hotel, I just quickly looked at the flight times and stuff, and it looks like from Tampa into Lima, most of the flights get in like 3 a.m., like crazy hours. Is that going to be a problem, or you guys?
I can set up it. I would recommend double checking other airports, though. I know, like, I'm in Fort Lauderdale. The flights out of Miami generally arrive in Lima in the afternoon from Miami. So depending on what your plans are, it may even be an extended vacation if you come and stay a night in Fort Lauderdale, Miami, and then fly out of down here or drive down, because they'll get you in Lima earlier. But just check the other airports because different ones do have different flight schedules. But I'll make sure your pickup happens no matter what time you arrive.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. If you come in on a flight that lands at 3:02, I'm going to be meeting you. Regardless. And so we'll transfer you regardless of what your flight time is coming in or going out. The other thing that I would tell you is at first look, I think you'll probably find that that is not what you end up with. This last group that I did with the villages was approximately, as I said, 50 guests. And we may have had 8 to 10 passengers that came in late evening, right prior to midnight, before midnight. And some, we might have had 8 passengers that came, that left very early morning, 6 to 7 a.m. So the middle of the night, generally, when you see those are connections someplace. And so you're looking at Panama City to Lima with Copa, for example, airlines, and it's a connection. So I think the more time that you spend on that, you're going to find better connections.
Yeah,
but at the end of the day,
direct flights too. So
Yeah.
the layovers are unusual, and you can find many flights without them.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
Did you fly direct out of Orlando into Lima?
I did not. I flew from South Florida.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But you can. I'm not current on it, so I let me amend that. I don't know until I look. But in general, both Tampa and Orlando has had nonstop flights. What the current situation is, I do not know. I have flown from Tampa nonstop, and I have flown from Orlando. nonstop. I just don't know what the current is. And I know for sure South Florida has nonstop, for sure, because it's the most protected airport north-south between North America and South America. So either way.
What should we budget for tips and so on for guides and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I give you all of the instruction. It works pretty much like when you're in Europe, for example. And I know probably we're at 100% of everybody that participated in the meeting today has done travel to Europe. I'll be giving you recommendations. Generally, the general rule of thumb for a guide that is doing half day in Lima, Cusco, your guide in Machu Picchu is $3 to $5 as a gratuity, just a standard gratuity. For the drivers, this will not be like in Europe or in the United States, because you will not have the same driver. So generally, that is a $1 to $2 recommendation for the driver for the day. And I'll give you all of those instructions, recommendations.
Yeah, we'll send out a document before you depart. They'll have very detailed instructions like that, including what you should pack, if you're going to need power converters. All of my trips, I put together a very thorough pre-departure document, which helps you prepare everything you'll need before you pack.
I have one last question. This is my first, I call it Zoom call, Google Meet, whatever we're going to call with your company. I just retired. This is my 3rd week of retirement.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But I travel a lot with my teenage granddaughter. Is that a problem?
Nope. We had a woman on my trip in September that had her 3 teenagers with her. There may be some experiences on some of the trips that are geared more towards adults, not on this one specifically. I've done trips to Oktoberfest and things like that. Right. But there's not a limitation on it. It's just, pay attention to what happens on the trip to make the decision if it's appropriate for your child or your family members. Yeah.
And broadly, my experience as escort, I have quite a bit of intergenerational experience, which is what your question is. It's very interesting because sometimes our passengers bristle that there may be some disruption. And I think overwhelmingly they find that a grandparent or a parent that is of our age, retired, they bring an intergenerational guest with them on the trip. And it's not the louder, more boisterous voice that becomes significant. It's really us that are. I just did a trip. I came back on Wednesday. I did a 3-day trip down to Everglades National Park in Key West. And one of the guests from the villages, the couple, as a 3rd passenger, brought a 14-year-old grandson. And it was fantastic. And I know in general, there might be concern that somebody young was on the trip, but traveling with the grandparents and it turned out to be an extremely respectful situation for everybody. And so it was a positive experience for everybody. And I know from my standpoint, I'm going to zero right in on that person to make sure that we get a positive experience from them and put them in a comfortable situation so everyone else is in a comfortable situation. So I would add, in addition to what David said, we'll make sure that it's done correctly and everybody has a good time.
Yeah, you're exactly right. We have theater tickets to our local theater. And as soon as, when she was 3, we bought the season passes. We've had them forever. And when we would walk in, you could just see the look on the people's faces. Like, oh, don't let her sit at my table. But I wouldn't take her there if she wasn't very well behaved. I mean, she's world traveled. We just got back from Antarctica. So she's
good for you. Yeah,
Another question.
Yeah. Are there minimums and maximums on these trips, minimums where you cancel, and what are the maximum number of travelers?
The September trip is definite for sure already. There's so many guests on it.
The 2026,
yeah. 2026 is definite. In terms of maximums, if it moved any beyond the experience of in the 40s, then the travel club would be adding another owl to the trip. So it really doesn't affect how the size of the trip is not really affected, because you're handled in most instances in rotation groups of like 10 to 20 guests. It doesn't really make any difference. And the September trip is definite.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions from anybody? Okay.
Well, David, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. If you want to watch over this presentation again, the email that was sent out today as a reminder has the YouTube link. The YouTube, it'll take a while after the end of the broadcast to process, but then you'll be able to watch it at any time using that link, or you can contact us for it. And of course, you can email us or contact us via the phone number if you do have further questions. And we hope to see everybody in Machu Picchu, and have a great day.
Thank you.